All right. Welcome, everybody, to A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie. Today's discussion will be revolving around the 1987 George Miller classic, The Witches of Eastwick.
Mm-hmm.
Janet, you nominated this film
Mm-hmm.
for review, and did you see it when it was initially released?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You see it with your mom?
Mm-hmm. And two of my sisters.
Two
I
of the
think it was
five,
Sandy and
two of the
Jennifer.
four sisters.
Well,
And but just
so it was a great movie. I just loved it. But I loved Cher. I really like Cher a lot.
I just want to warn those of you if you've not been in a chat with
And my
Cher.
mom liked Jack Nicholson a lot too. She thought he was a really good actor. And
Would
after she
you,
saw
would you
the trailer
really?
for it, she knew it wasn't going to be scary because anything that has witches in it, she thinks is going to be scary. And I said, no, it's more of a romantic comedy type movie, which I don't normally like because I don't normally want to go see
Yeah.
romantic comedies. But this one was, I thought it was kind of spooky too. Had a lot of scary things in it that were fun. But I just love witches, so
They
I
can
thought
be
it'd be
fun.
good, and I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good.
They can be a lot of fun.
Hmm?
They can be quite a bit of fun.
But it was
Um,
very sexually oriented. You know what I mean?
this
It had
movie
a
is
lot of sexual innuendos in it and stuff. Uh, but I thought it was funny. I laughed a lot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining through the whole movie. And I'm shocked that you hadn't seen it before. So that's
I,
good, though.
I was 12 when it came out. Keep in mind, I was 12.
Yeah. But you did see it then?
No, I didn't
Oh,
see it until
okay.
just now.
I was like, holy shit, your parents let you see that kind of stuff.
The
Yeah,
only
well, I'm
Nicholson
glad your
film,
parents didn't let you go see it. But yeah, I thought it was great.
the only Nicholson film I'd seen up until '87. I want to know if this is at that time frame where Betamax was being phased out because I went home from school one day and mom and dad had like 7 or 10 new Betamax movies to watch.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, wow, we got new movies. And like, I don't know why, but they bought me Porky's. Of all things for Christian conservatives to buy, like, that's not the film I figured they would show me, but okay, that's fine. I liked it. New Betamax movies to watch.
Sorry, my
Sorry.
thing just loaded on my phone because I can't type on this one.
So actually, you should be able to. There should be a chat window right hand side.
Yeah, I don't see.
That's
I see
chat.
that it says your audience will be here, but I don't see anything at the bottom.
It says
I'll take a
R.
picture of it after I'm done and show it to you.
Okay.
It's weird.
Um, Up until this, I've only seen The Terror, Hell's Angel on Wheels, which is not a great movie.
Hmm.
I remember him on as Mr. Garland on the Andy Griffith Show. And what was the other film? The Last Detail. He played Budusky. Great movie. We're going to review that. And then he played R.P. McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I've seen that movie probably more times than I have seen that movie more than I've seen Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was a movie my mom absolutely loved. She just talked about it. I don't. It was Mary Steenburgen was in it, and Jack Nicholson, and he's about to be hung for his crimes, and her husband had died, and she had a mine. So she,
Oh,
they were
um,
they
I,
put him up for sale, and so she bought him as her slave, basically, to help her take care of the mine. And the sheriff or whatever was hot. He had the hots for her, And he said, just tell me if he doesn't perform, I'll get rid of him or whatever type thing. But it was a comedy, and I cannot remember the name. What was it?
Going South.
Yeah, Going South. My mom loved that
It's
movie. That's one of my mom's
it's
favorite
about
movies.
Hector. Hector's played by John Belushi in it.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yep.
that's right.
Yep.
That's right. My mom loved this movie. She laughed and
And
every time she watched it.
Reverend Jim Christopher Lloyd is in this movie.
Yeah, she just loved this movie. She loved that movie. So she did like Jack Nicholson. I don't remember all the other movies that she remembered seeing that he was in, but she really liked him. She thought he was very talented and she enjoyed his movies. So to get her to go to this one was
Murray
fun.
Steenburgen is in her prime in this movie. I really feel she is. I think she's.
But this movie had a huge cast in it. I mean, because it had Jack Nicholson, it had Cher, it had Susan Sarandon and Michelle Pfeiffer, Veronica Cartwright was in it, Richard Jenkins.
I love Veronica Cartwright, and she does what she does best in a movie. She chokes.
But she did. She was a good actress in this movie. She was believable as a person that was sensing evil and knew that something wasn't right. And she even prophesized that the girls were all going to have babies. So
See, I honestly feel that Richard Jenkins is Clyde Eldon, her husband. I think he actually is just like this is a prequel to the movie Cabin in the Woods because he basically plays the same character in this movie, and it would completely explain why in Cabin in the Woods he just doesn't give a shit. He gives no shits about nothing in that movie.
Well, the thing is, I felt bad for the character that her husband's character, because the Clyde, I guess was his name, Clyde. And I felt bad for him because throughout the whole movie, he's very adoring to his wife, and she's very prim and proper. She has her shirt buttoned all the way up her neck, like a typical church lady, right? She's very religious, very active in the community. She owned a business and her husband worked there, they run a newspaper or whatever. And he was very doting to her. And even the part where she's in the hospital after she fell down the stairs, and he's got his head laying on her tummy, he's really worried about her, very adoring husband. And he's drove to commit the worst act, sin, basically, because of what happens to her, not understanding what's going on. He didn't know that she was being
I forgive the guy for that happening. I honestly completely forgive him because I could see it where like you've got this idyllic household, you live in a nice white picket fence area. There's not a single thing that's scary that ever happens except for the electric bill between June and August. That your life, if that's your life, and all of a sudden one day your wife starts spitting out like seeds and vomiting up stuff that.
Well, it wasn't just that though, because remember in the hospital, she starts yelling weird stuff to him and telling him he's a failure and he's a worst husband ever and useless, and she just degrades him so bad. It was heartbreaking, especially when she wakes up and he's got his head laying on her stomach area because he's worried about her. He's been sitting there all night, at the hospital with her. So it shows you the breakdown of an adoring husband who would do anything for his wife, and all of a sudden now he's confronted with this nut, this psycho. She turns into a psycho, and he just can't deal with it. He just can't take the abuse anymore. And in a way, that's the sad part of the movie, is the fact of here Jack Nicholson comes to town because you have three lonely women. One who has 6 kids. Her husband ran off and left her because he didn't want the responsibility of having to help her take care of her kids. And she works at the newspaper as a reporter. And then the other one is a school teacher. She teaches music, and her husband divorced her. Okay. And she's got a principal basically that's got the hots for her, and he's grabbing her ass, and, he's just really gross. And, he's just really gross to her, and, unwanted advances that she's not ready for yet because she was just now divorced, that day. And then you have Cher, which is a local artist, and she has a teenage daughter, right? But her husband died, so it's got three lonely women.
Yeah, and
And that's how the movie starts. Basically, it gives you a little bit of a taste of what their lives are like. So I thought that was really good. You see the Susan Sarandon's character is very demure. She's very quiet, and she, just like I said, she has her clothes buttoned all the way up to the top like the other. She's marmish, very marmish
I
school
love the
teacher.
school
And
alarm.
then, yeah, and then once she meets him, and she has a wild roll in the hay, she becomes this wild beast basically, and unleashes her passion, and she even dresses differently when she goes to school to teach the kids. She's just very open. Now Cher's the only one to me that really didn't change as much.
No, she
She was
doesn't.
very boisterous and hard-headed, tomboyish, a lot up front, but she was already beautiful. I thought, I thought she was beautiful anyways. All the women were beautiful. I thought, even when they dressed down or whatever. The what was her name? Damn it, Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay, her character was very momish. Very school mom. Little soccer mom. Whatever you want to do, because she had so many kids. That's all she did was run around, clean up after her
She just
kids, take
she
care of them.
she took care of kids really well.
Yeah, at least that's what she would seem like. Because she said she's very fertile. She has a baby. She just looks at a toothbrush that's got DNA on it. She's going to have a kid. So, everybody's met one of those type of women that's got lots of kids hanging on their leg, and they're pregnant. Or they're pregnant and they got a kid on their hip, right? So yeah, so they did a really good job at showing the women's lives before he comes to town, and then they all get together and they're all having their Thursday night wine night, or drinking alcohol, and they're drinking martinis, and talking about how lonely they are and how they wish they had a man, all this kind of stuff, and how horny they are and stuff like that, which I love, because just like I've always said, men talking in a locker room is not much different than what women do, because women do talk about sex. Women do talk about,
A lot more than guys do, actually.
yeah, a lot more than men think women do, because we do talk about, we're lonely, we're horny, we got cramps, or I'm sick of my kids right now, I need some time off, all that stuff. We unload just like men do. But it was just fun to get to watch them, and it shows you the round after round after round of martinis, and then they start talking about if they could find the perfect man, what would they want. So they start talking about they want him to be attractive, but then they said, well, not too attractive. They didn't want him to be like an Adonis or something like that. And they just started giving all these ideas of what they thought a great man would. Someone would listen to them, and treat him with respect, all this kind of stuff. So in a way, when all of a sudden he shows up and he buys that mansion and he's moving into it, and they were all interested in who's this new guy that came to town, the whole thing. I just thought it was great. The lead up to it. It's kind of showing you that they wished him into
Yeah,
resistance.
they completely fabricated his arrival with their desire.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Yep.
like to say hi to Wolfton Media, and there's something that Crafting Gamer says that I agree with. When I was a young kid, this is not my movie. Uh, he says I've seen this movie when I was 8, 9 years old, 10 at most. It bored me to death.
Mm-hmm.
I barely remember anything about it. As a kid, yeah, this movie does not threaten you with a good time at all. You've got John Williams with an amazing score at the start of it, and then afterwards, you're just like picking up magazines or reading Star Wars assembly instructions for your new toy. Anything to get your mind off this movie, because it's just these three boring women that are at a point where they just need some spice. And you, at the age of 12, at the age of 8, probably not the person to do that. Jack Nicholson, age 45 or 40 or however old he was, he hits his prime in this movie. And other people will be like, what do you mean he hits his prime? Well, The Witches of Eastwick
Mm-hmm.
is an 87 release. And let's go through Jack Nicholson's career here. About the same time this movie was birthed into theaters, because that seems to be a theme of this movie,
Yeah.
the emergence. You've got, right, two movies before this in 85. He did Preezy's Honor. Then he did Heartburn, which very few people remember today. He did the narration for The Elephant's Child, which not many people remember that. And he does this movie called Broadcast News. Okay, not a bad film.
I don't
Then
think I've seen that one.
it's not a bad film. It's pretty good. Then he does Ironweed, which is another sleeper. But then in 89, they release in the summer Batman. And he plays Jack Napier, the Joker, which, if you didn't know who Jack Nicholson was, now you do. And that was what put him on my radar. But he'd been in this, like, hitting homers the entire time because his performances were just solid. He does the Two Jakes after that, which I remember. I don't remember Man Trouble. But then in 92, he puts out A Few Good Men, which is great. A great fucking movie.
My mom liked that one too.
The Jack Nicholson Holy Trinity actually starts with A Few Good Men. Then it goes to Hoffa, which he plays Jimmy Hoffa himself. And then it ends with Wolf in 94.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Those three films, if you don't know who Jack Nicholson is, watch those three. The Hoffa movie, pretty fucking good. Is it accurate all the way? Not really. But if you tell people in Jersey that you at least enjoyed it, they'll at least listen to you and give you a sympathetic nod, like, yeah, you know nothing. But as far as the movie's concerned, it's a very good film. I'll shut up now.
I remember, though, that my mom, somebody said something. I think it was Papa Cotton. He said he understands why women like this movie. I thought it was just more man-hating feminist drivel. That's kind of funny that he said that. It's because I remember my mom nodding her head a lot when the girls were talking, because it was a little bit above me, but I listened because I hadn't gone through some of the things that these women had gone through. You know what I mean? In the movie. But apparently my mom understood a lot of it because she agreed with so many things that the women were saying. And I remember us talking about it afterward. And she was like, she thought it was really good simply for the fact that each of the women portrayed different women that I guess she knew in her life as a military wife, right? Yep. So, someone who had lost her husband and was lonely, but you lived in a small town, whatever, where your house was, because a lot of women, once your husband dies, most of them can't just afford to get rid of their house, and move somewhere else. You have to pretty much take what you got, you know what I mean, and work that out. But I remember Mom making certain comments about it, and the scene, this one I laughed. My mom absolutely loved that scene where he's walking outside and he bumps into Cher's character, right? And he talks to her and he's intriguing to her, but she kind of thinks, so you could tell by the looks on her face, she kind of thinks he's like a buffoon or something. She doesn't know how to react because he just doesn't, he seems way out there, out of this world, kind of agreeing with everything. Like he's saying anything he has to get her. You know what I mean? And a woman can spot that a mile away. That's why I always tell guys, just be yourself. Be yourself, because if you're yourself, you don't have to lie later on. You just be you from the moment you meet you. She's not going to expect anything else. Okay. But 1 minute you're this way and 1 minute you're that way. And that's what he was doing basically in this movie. He pretended to be whatever he thought the women wanted. He said it, just grabbed this and grabbed that, whatever. He was just putting it all in the kitchen sink and mixing it up to try to see what worked, to get the women, because that's what he wanted. And he acted almost like he was so overconfident, that he was a total narcissist, huge narcissistic personality. But I thought he did an excellent job portraying that person. You know what I mean? So when he takes her back to a house after he shows around. He says, "This is my bedroom," and he opens both doors. And you see the giant, massive bed right in the middle, and then he walks over, takes off his shirt, and just flings it, and he puts the robe on, and then he crawls up on the bed. And he's very trying to be very sexual, the whole thing. I
Totally.
laughed through the whole thing. It was great. See, if a
Great.
guy did that kind of thing to me, I probably would just melt like butter because that is what I like. I like a guy that can be strong, sexy, but funny, too, and not be embarrassed by it. Because a lot of men won't sing in front of a woman. They won't do a lot of things because they think that the woman's going to laugh at them. But a lot of men don't realize that women just want to laugh too. They want a guy that's got a personality that's fun to be with, and you don't realize the woman doesn't look at you like, oh, kitty, he's a dumbass. You know what I mean? Unless she's stuck up narcissist herself, maybe she would. But I just thought it was adorable when he's on the bed crawling around. And then she laughed at him and told him all the horrible things about him that, I think you're a buffoon, you're ugly, you smell, all the things that she said, trying to tell him, thought he was ridiculous, right?
Right.
She starts to leave and he comes up behind her and he starts telling her, why are you going to go home? There's nobody there. So he knows everything about her already, where she lives, that she's lonely because she's the one that made him come. Basically, part of the reason why he came in the first place was for her, to fulfill her needs, whatever. At least that's how the movie portrays him. So the fact that she turns around and you see the tear running down her face, I just thought that was such an awesome scene to me. It pulled at my heartstrings because I feel a lot like her. I haven't lost a husband or anything like that died or anything like that, but the feelings that she must have been going through, the loneliness and the need to just want to be held in someone's arms and be felt important, that type of thing. So when he was saying those things to her in a very dramatic way and almost in a hurtful way, a slightly hurt way, the way he was throwing it in her face, basically, but he didn't do it in a way that made you think he was a total dick. I don't know. I can't explain it any more than that.
It worked.
She turns around and she just grabs him. And they just start kissing very passionately. I just thought that was a wonderful scene.
Hey, Wolfton Media. I am not painting Battletoads today, but I am painting Garistros. I'm actually finishing up the work on these guys here.
Yeah, that one, those look great.
I can't wait to unleash these on players here in the next couple weeks.
Uh-oh. They look mean.
Oh, they are.
But the way the scene, I'm wearing a robe because there's a scene in that after they all got in the pool and they're laying around in a circle and he's filming them with a camera and he's asking them to talk about the one thing that they don't like, the one thing that they don't want to happen in their life that they want to get rid of. And they each talk about different things that scare them. So I thought that was a very important scene because later on, when the girls finally decide that maybe being with him isn't good for them, that he takes revenge on them because he's mad and jealous because he came all the way there for him and that they threw him aside, like he was nothing. And I love that whole scene where he gets to let out his feelings and stuff. To me, he was so top notch. He was perfection. He was total perfection. There wasn't a single scene that I think he was in where I saw anything wrong with it. I thought he was perfect in every scene. He is one of the top actors, that's out there that's still alive. From the movies that I've seen him in, he is perfection.
I think he's probably one of those actors that were he's this generation's Bogart, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other people disagree with me and they think that Schwarzenegger is the Bogart, but I think Nicholson is this generation's Bogart. If there is a this generation's Bogart, I absolutely love the way that Nicholson comes off in his films. If you've not seen The Last Detail yet, that's a good movie. Like if you got a friend that's going in the military. They're bound and determined. I'm 15. I know what I want. I'm going in the military. I'm going to be in the Navy, or I'm going to
Hmm.
be in whatever. Have them sit down, and watch the movie The Last Detail with you, because that's a really good film that goes into kind of the mindset of these sailors, that they've got to do something that they probably don't want to do. And it's not just a Navy thing. I mean, it's just a really good movie for future enlisted to check out.
But some of the scenes in this movie, and some of the lines that he's able to say, I don't know whether or not he was able to ad lib or what, but the scene where he's crawling on the bed and trying to act all sexual, wearing that silky robe over his clothes, after you see what he looks like under his shirt, right? He's just got a dad bod, he's not
Mhm.
an Adonis or anything, which is one
Not at
thing I
all.
really liked about it. It made it more believable to me, because they were talking when they wanted the perfect man, which proves, like I say this all the time, just because a girl's pretty, if she's just a normal girl, even though she's pretty, she's not going to care if a guy has love handles. She's not going to care if he's losing his hair. She's not going to care about those things. We really don't. When we want someone to spend the rest of our lives with, and we want to love forever, we push aside he's got to be built like a Stretch Armstrong or whatever. That this goes out the window. We want a person that makes us feel special when they look at us, that we're the only one that matters on the planet. That's what we want. We want romance. We want love. We want to feel attended to. Whatever that I can cook, and even though it may not be perfect, he's going to tell me, "Honey, that was the best meal I ever had." He's very attentive, and he's hands-on. He wants to hold your hand. He's romantic. All that. That's what women care more about than whether what he looks like. Because look at all these beautiful women and guys are saying, How did that guy get that girl? Well, that's because she fell in love with him, because most women really don't care about that. And if a woman says, well, you need to lose a few pounds, or she's constantly ragging on you for that as a girlfriend, don't marry that woman. She doesn't love you for who you are. And I want someone who loves me for who I am. And to me, that's important. And you men should look for a woman that wants to be your best friend, that wants to do what you want to do, that likes some of the things that you like. It doesn't mean you have to like everything and spend every minute together, but that means when you are together, you are looking at each other, you're contacting, you're talking, you're interacting, and you're enjoying each other's company. That's what I loved about this movie. They made it so authentic. So you see, after the Suki comes back and she's talking to Cher's character, right? And Cher's going, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what I did," because she slept with him. But the scene leading up to Cher sleeping with him, when he's laying on the bed, he's going on and on about, I'm not going to try to pull one over on you. I just want a good fuck or something like that, because he's trying to be what he thought she wanted, and she pours out on him, and she's like, "What are you?" Or "Who are you?" or whatever. And then he says that I'm just your average horny little devil,
Yeah.
basically. And I just loved it. I thought that whole scene, I just loved that whole scene. I just thought it was great. It was very romantic at the end when they end up having that passionate embrace. I thought it was forceful in a way, because she was like filled with anger about where she is in her life, and loneliness. So when he's saying those mean things to her, it hurts and it builds up an anger in her. But when she turns around, all she wants to do is take out her passion on him in a forceful way, which I thought was a very sexual and very romantic scene. I thought it was, wow, I liked it. Even though Jack Nicholson is not of that attractive. Even in the movie, The Postman Always Rings Twice. You remember
Mhm.
that one?
I do.
And that one scene, holy shit. I mean, I'm telling you, it was one of the best sex scenes I've ever seen in my life. When he goes in the back door and she's making bread, and they argue, and then they start throwing all the pans and everything off the big butcher block table, and it's covered with flour, and they just start rolling all over the table together. I was like, damn, that was a hot scene. And that was Jack Nicholson. So he can do it. I mean, it doesn't matter whether he's built like whatever, some guy that looks like a right off a romance novel or something. That really, I mean, I think it's nice that some guys are attracted because it might be their eyes, it might be their smile, it might be their shoulders, or they got a cute little ass. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying women are attracted to different things depending on what draws them into the conversation or whatever. That's how women are. And the fact that you get to see him seduce each of the women by using different techniques, and it's the same guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just thought all of that, the way that I can see why the director and the people involved in this production of this wanted Jack Nicholson. I mean, I thought he filled every part that he needed to play, and he did it believably. Even the scene where he's by himself in the church, right? And he's covered with feathers. He's filthy, dirty. He's sweaty, and he's throwing up seeds. It was a horrible scene for him, but he was just on it the whole thing. I didn't see it. I just didn't see anything he did wrong. I mean, I thought he did excellent every single part, and I don't think I've ever said that about any of the characters so far, besides the one guy that was in Galaxy Quest, the one actor that played the alien character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He was an actor like that. He was just that character, period, no matter what. He played it to the maximum. And there's very few actors like that. But that's how I felt about Jack Nicholson in this movie.
It's the stuff that dreams are made of. And the problems of two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world.
Yeah. But
Mhm. Sorry.
But that scene, and then the scene where he ends up seducing Susan Sarandon's character through her passion, which was music, right? Mm-hmm. So, and he could play, because he was the devil. He could play the piano, he could play the harp, he could play anything. He is everything he needs, basically, except, like he says in the church when he's talking about women. Why did God make them? This type of thing. I swear that's every man. That's what I saw. I saw him portraying what every man that has been with a woman in a relationship that's gone up and down, or whatever. That was what I saw. Every single man, the way they feel, it's like he just wanted to pull his hair out. He didn't know what to do. He's like, why do I even care about women? I can't stand them. Because at that moment, he couldn't. You know what I mean? But to me, I love that scene. I thought that scene was really good too, because it portrayed every man's thoughts about women. I feel. What did you think about that part?
I liked it. I'm while I watched this movie, young Bruce wanted to take notes. Mm-hmm. Current day Bruce, nah, I'm good. This is a great film. And when I say great film, I'm not going to give it like a 95 or anything, but I mean, this is a movie that I kind of, I could see where women watch this, and it is a classic guilty pleasure film. Mm-hmm. I can see where women would be like, I want to see more of this. I want more Jack Nicholson. I want more of what he can do. And I could see where this movie would entice people to start pursuing, movies like this, or movies with these actresses, the actresses and the actors. I think this is a good movie for its time, one. And secondly, this movie is a fantastic film for the fact that if you start reading into the things that happen on set, because like George Miller was not exactly looked at favorably by the production house. They were trying to muscle in on him and just do all sorts of things to take the movie in directions that he, as director, is just not really interested in doing. Finally, he just gives up on production for a couple days. He's like, nah, we're not going to send in any dailies because we're not going to do anything. We're going to wait for the fucking production house to take their nose and pull it somewhere else. They got it shoved so far up my ass. They want to know what's going on. Nothing's going on. Get out of here. And they thought that he really would just knuckle down, because all he'd really been known for was the Mad Max movies. And he's like, I'm a hell of a director. you guys need to back off. And then there's other things that are going on because you got John Peters, he's producer. He gets obsessed with bringing in a man dressed up like an alien from the Aliens movies.
Oh, yeah, I read that. That's hilarious.
And fucking Nicholson's like, why are we doing this? You know, and they finally are like, well, it's Peter's idea. It's like, I'm gonna leave and you're gonna take this alien the fuck out of here. And they had to remove themselves physically before Peters finally got his wish to put an alien on film. No, this is a movie for women. Why are we putting an alien in the movie? Well, it'll make another $5 million in box office budget just to have an alien in the film. Why? Where does an alien fit in the fucking script?
But see, I've said a few times, when you're on set, okay, you're working and you got the whole thing set out, you got the props, you got everything ready, everybody's got makeup, and they're everything's ready to go for the scene. And all of a sudden, a couple of producers come in, the
Yep.
people that are backing
Yeah.
everything, and they look around and they say, and you see the director walk over to them and they're talking, and all of a sudden you see the director say, hey, so and so, get this, that, and the other. They're putting somebody in the movie, okay, and it's one of their kids or their niece or his wife or somebody. So everyone else has to shuffle around to fit in a new person that's just being added to the movie because the producer wants one of their siblings or somebody. But I
Yeah.
have also heard this before. I've heard a director on a couple of things say a woman would come in to say she was picked to be a doctor or whatever, and then she comes walking in, and the director, you see him looking at her, and then he calls over the second AD and says, get rid of her. And they're like, and she's like, he says, sorry. And they get her and they take her out back. And all of a sudden you hear them saying, she looked too much like my ex-wife, or something. You don't have a clue. But the thing is, like they always say, the director's always right. Whatever the director wants, he's going to get. Unless it's a producer that wants something. So they'll bend the will of a producer to a degree. You know what I mean? They'll like, well, we're going to make her a patient, so we're going to put her in a wheelchair and let her come in, and she'll be a prominent, like a featured extra or something like that. That's usually what happens with these people. But it does. It can happen on any day. You might be filming six weeks in different places, depending on the scenes that you're going to be in. But if the producer says, I want to put my kid in this or my grandma or whatever, the producers usually get something like that. So that happens a lot. That's something that happens.
It just get used to it. There's nepotism, and it's more powerful than you. The other part, kind of on the alien thing, Veronica Cartwright's in this movie, and she plays her part as a bitchy, kind of bossy lady that's a hoity-toity type in town. She plays it perfectly. This is
You talking about the one who spits all the pits?
yeah, and they actually make an animatronic puppet of Veronica Cartwright for the cherry pit vomit scene.
And she was good. She was believable, overzealous Christian woman.
I wouldn't call her a Christian woman first, okay? Overzealous, yeah, completely bossy, bitchy. I go back to the Veronica Cartwright and Clyde Alden relationship, because to me that's like one of the pinnacles of this movie. One of the amazing parts. When we were watching it, I even rewound it to see the murder scene again, which there's no murder scene. The movie shows him get the poker from the fireplace, and then the movie shows you outside of the house. You see something happen in the window. You have no idea what it is.
And you hear sound effects like you hit her over the head. You hear a thump. She hits the ground. They didn't have to show. You knew what happened.
And I thought it was perfect, because right before that, he's like, "This ends. We're ending this." He's not going to have a fucking demonic wife to talk to.
And but that's a pivotal scene in the movie, because Michelle Pfeiffer realizes that he would never have done that. She's worked for this guy for many, many years.
Yeah.
At his newspaper. So when she's seeing the cops there and the ambulance and all the stuff and the morgue or whatever, people taking the mother and they arresting him, she feels horrible. because she feels like it's partly their fault because they brought Daryl into town, right? So that's when they realize, and then they start arguing, and they're arguing. You can see the close-ups of their mouth, and they're angry. You can see them gritting their teeth, and the veins in their neck, they're pulsating because they're angry and they're fighting. And when they do that, all of a sudden the ground rises and splits underneath them.
Yep.
That's when they realize, we're
got something. There's something going on here that we are directly influencing.
And they go, we got to split up. We got to get rid of them. That's the only way. We can't have them here because we don't know who else is going to be hurt. And that's important.
Stuck-up wasp. She's a stuck-up wasp completely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then,
and she did a good job though, because you believed her. You know what I mean? You could see, you sympathize with the man that murders her because she did such a good job at portraying the character that everybody hated. You know what I mean? So she was good. She was a good actress. Yeah, she was phenomenal in Alien too. She was very believable as her character in that movie. She was a good actress. Man, there was some good actors in this movie. I think 3 of them had been nominated for Academy Awards, and 2 of them were nominated for whatever the thing is. I don't know. I remember what the other thing was, but something else. So there was 5 people in this one movie that were nominated for different types of awards. And also the score, I think, was also nominated, wasn't it, for an Academy Award for this movie?
Yes, score was nominated.
But the one scene where I couldn't stop laughing, and even though it was a very pivotal part, was the part when they create the voodoo doll, because they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of them. And as soon as they're all happy and stuff, saying we're craving stuff, because he knows they're pregnant now. He's got them all back at the house, and he's trying to be all happy. And so they get him to go to town, and while they're gone, when he drives off, they're running around trying to get stuff to make a voodoo doll so they can get rid of them. They think, because you can tell they're not practicing witches. They don't know all these spells by heart and stuff like that. Like you'd see.
This is an intuitive thing they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm, yeah, but they know they have some special powers because they've learned a few things over this little time that he arrives in town. So you see Suki's character runs in and gets a spell book out of this glass cabinet in his office and brings it in there. And you see Cher melting some wax candles. Okay. And then you see Susan Sarandon's character. She gets a photograph of Daryl, and then she takes hair from his comb, and she gets some clothes and stuff of his and puts them in the little dish to burn. So they pour alcohol on it and they're burning all of it together. Then they take the ashes and they put it in the little hole that they drilled into the voodoo doll. So they're showing, because most people, adults, know what a voodoo doll is. You poke a pin in it and it hurts, right? Or, it causes supposedly. So the scene where he's at the store and they stab him in the leg. I mean, that was phenomenal acting on his part, to me, to make it believable that they're, and then the part where they stab it through his hand and he bashes the glass open in the ice cream shop and sticks his hand down into the ice cream. I just thought it was hilarious. I was laughing my butt off. And the reaction from the young guy standing behind the counter was very realistic. I thought it was a very well done scene. And then what the feathers had to do with it, I didn't understand. Because for some reason they opened the pillow and were pouring feathers, chicken or downy feathers all over him. And he starts coughing and feathers come out and he's walking down the road. And then all of a sudden they're blowing on it and he's getting blown down the street. The whole thing. I mean, that was a lot of work, and they did a very good job at making it look like he was getting blown all around, and he flies into the truck, and then the wind blows the chairs off the back of that truck. And I just thought it was really good. Very believable for me, for them supposedly performing a spell, and he's yelling, "Girls, what are you doing?" He's yelling because he realizes that they're doing something. He just doesn't know what it is. So he has to get back there as fast as he can to stop them, because he doesn't know what they're doing. But he's pissed off, and they know it, and they know they're in trouble. So, and they knew that he was more powerful than they were. And they were afraid of him. And they made it look like they were afraid of him in the scene where they were trying to get rid of him. And
Do
then
you believe in life after love? I'm sorry. I have to give some of you.
Yeah, I love that song. I used to dance around and sing that. It was a hit, wasn't it?
It was a hit. That's true. It doesn't mean I appreciated it at all. I mean, that song is about anathema. It's an audible poison to me, like the Aerosmith song from the Asteroid movie, or the Celine Dion song about the Titanic. Like, the last thing I want to do is listen to those miserable songs.
Or Ghostbusters, the theme from Ghostbusters.
I like Ghostbusters. That's a good tune. But
I was trying to think of different movies that had a hit song. Had a hit song on it.
But like, no, the Ghostbusters song wasn't ran into the ground and repeatedly punched into your fucking ear by miserable.
All I hear is everybody bitching about the Mariah Carey Christmas song or whatever.
Yeah, like that shit right there. That Mariah Carey Christmas CD. That thing needs to burn in hell. All of them. Fuck that thing. That's why I wear Bluetooth everywhere. And because maybe if I go into your little fucking retail outlet, if I go into your fucking mini mart, maybe if I go somewhere in public, I can actually exist without my Bluetooth earbuds in. But if I hear that cunt's voice, in they go, and I'm listening to fucking death metal. Fuck all of you. I'm not in a good mood now. I'm ready to be like, I would jack off with sandpaper on film before I listen to that shit willingly.
Oh, well, I wouldn't do that personally, but I get tired of it too.
I despise like the top 40 song apparatus that just completely macerates and destroys any enjoyability out of a song because they play it every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I like those little execs, those little thick piece of shit executives. I want them to be drugged through the fucking back roads of Alabama like they were a black man caught in town after midnight. Mm-hmm. I fucking cannot fucking stand those people that destroy. Like, it was a good song. We liked it, but yet you forced it on my ear every 8 minutes. Fuck you.
One thing I wanted to ask though is, do you know the book, The Witches of Eastwick by John Updike or something like that? Was it a huge hit? I mean, was it a top seller?
I found out that it was actually fairly popular
before I saw the movie.
It was pretty popular. I know that much, but I'd never heard of it before because I was 12.
Oh yeah, but I mean now. I mean, I wish I'd looked that up to see, but yeah, I never heard of the book.
There's still good reviews about it. It doesn't get the respect that it used to get, but it's still thought of pretty fondly, especially by women that are in book clubs ages 90 to 51. You don't read a lot of young girls that are Generation Y saying, "Oh my God, the Witches of Eastwick." The Witches of Eastwick are amazing.
Yeah, because I read something that said that June 12th, 1987, the director, George Miller, released his first comedy, and that was what this was. So
yeah, you know what he did before, right?
Yeah, because his first film that didn't star Mel Gibson as Mad Max.
Was Mad Max. And you know, the funny thing is that they didn't have a budget for that. Mm-hmm. They had no budget for Mad Max. They paid people in 6-packs of beer.
Mm-hmm. It worked though, didn't it?
Fucking amazingly well.
Yeah. So I don't know what the budget was for this, but it had to be a lot of money
22 million.
To get Cher.
22 million, and then they got 67 out of the box office.
Yeah, to be able to get Cher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon, and Jack Nicholson. I mean, 4 huge stars. Weren't all of them big stars at that time?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Cher was probably the biggest star at the time because she had the Sunny marriage. She had the music career, and now she's branching off into acting. I don't know if Mermaids was out yet or not. I don't follow Cher. This is one of
So
the few
Wolf
movies with
came out
Cher.
after this movie with Susan Sarandon. I mean with Michelle Pfeiffer
Hmm?
and Jack Nicholson. That came out after this one.
Wolf came out in '94.
Okay, so I was gonna say because and the other guy was in it. The guy from Mannequin. I can't remember what his name is right now.
I
He was in Wolf
as much
too.
as I've watched Mannequin, I try to forget about that movie.
Yeah, I didn't think it was very good
I
at all.
mean,
But
I
he's
also
that
try to forget
actor.
about the fact that I wore a jean jacket for 15 years.
Oh, really? I have one right now. I have a couple of them, but
I,
I wore them a lot. I rode horses, so jean
I,
jackets were good.
I had a really nice jean jacket that had a nice little liner on the inside, so to keep you warm. And up in Illinois, where winter lasts until like the last days of May, sometimes you needed that thing on the last day of school. Whereas in other civilized areas where people have settled, like they're wearing shorts comfortably in April,
Hmm.
and it absolutely broke my heart to find out that the rest of the nation doesn't have to live like Illinoisans. But I just, that it was a really nice jean jacket, but I wore that same jean jacket to my senior year of high school. Still, if I could fit into it today, I'd probably be wearing it, but it'd be too tight because I'm a fat bastard now. I need to drop that weight. This is a peak in the life you probably don't want, but I there's the things that I used to do, like I used to watch really bad television that nobody should ever watch, and I'm talking about like there's there's Square Pegs and there's Suddenly Susan or Suddenly Seeking Susan, and then there's like the Drek shit that I don't know how it got renewed year after year, but I watched every episode of the Facts of Life.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know how. I tried to watch it the other day. I went back to the first season when it all started, and they had a house full of girls, not the four, not the main four, and I just was like, I can't believe we're watching this. I can't believe this is what constituted really good entertainment.
Hmm.
Norman Lear. That's all I got to say. He had a vision for NBC, and I think that was all. Those in blinders because they're like, oh, don't make fun of Facts of Life. It's made by the guy that made Different Strokes, and they were both in the same universe for the most part. But
Well,
um,
but one thing I wanted to say too was the to me the authenticity of the city or the small town, the quaintness of it. They
oh,
did an
that's
excellent job for the
beautiful.
downtown, where he's downtown getting blown all over the streets and everything, and then you see the little courtyard with the beautiful church sitting there. I mean, it looked like a quaint little Massachusetts town. You know, at least it did to me. It was authentic looking, and then you leave town and you see the rolling hills and this trees scattered throughout, and then all of a sudden you see this giant mansion, and I don't think that they filmed in the mansion. I think they just used the outside of that one mansion, and then they used some other place for some of the sets that they did for the actual scenes, like the bedroom when he opens the doors, and it was just very majestic. It had a very majestic look to the town. I mean, it was like the church, though. It was just beautiful. It was a beautiful church. It was 2 stories. It was. I just loved it. All the windows and everything, and I just thought it was gorgeous for a quaint little church that everybody would attend and go to. And then you see them all in that one scene where they're all sitting in there before they realize they're witches. Is the fact that they're all sitting in the church and they're listening, and you see the kids like fidgeting and stuff like that. So it was very realistic, the characters in the pews. And then when they're outside in front, and you had that one guy, the superintendent of the school, or the principal or whatever, talking, and they're all being bored to death. We've all been there. So they did a good job at pulling the people that were watching the movie into scenarios in the movie that we've all been through. Because how many times have you gone to these functions and you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, just so I can get out of here. So basically, that's when they're all tapping their foot and they're all just doing anything to try to stay awake because they're so bored. I just thought they did a really good job at setting up the scenarios the way they did for each of the scenes to pull you in so you can understand each of the characters and find out that they're witches. And then once he's there and they end up all being seduced basically by him. And then that scene a little bit later when you see Susan Sarandon walking through the grocery store, basically. It's a little one too. It's very small, like a little market. And she's got a jar of pickles and she's eating one of them, right? And she's got a little basket on her arm and she's just grabbing things and put it. And you see all the people just watching her, nosy people, that you see that you think of in a small town. They're all like, oh, everybody knows everybody. And look at her. She's such a slut, basically.
Yeah.
I thought all that was really good. And that's when she realizes, damn, these people don't like me. They think I'm a whore. And she's embarrassed. So she just leaves. She doesn't even pay for the stuff. She had set on the counter. So I like that. I like that they give you this point of view. And that's when they're all thinking that maybe we should not stay here. But Susan Sarandon doesn't want to leave. And the part where they're riding up on the bicycle, you got Cher. She's all giddy, like a teenage schoolgirl. And she's talking to Michelle Pfeiffer. And that's when they get there. And that's when they realize Susan Sarandon's already there. And she's like, hello. She's all like, stuck up because she's just had a great lay or whatever. And now she thinks that this guy's in love with her because she doesn't know that he's already slept with Cher's character. That's when they find out and the jealousy starts coming out between the two of them, realizing that now he's going after Suki's character. So I just thought it was really, really good. The whole aspect of the character building, building up their character arcs.
Yeah.
I thought it was on point, the whole thing for all of them. Until the ending when they decide they can't deal with it anymore. Now I did read, I was trying to find it, something about that the people that watched this movie, the test audiences, didn't like the ending, the original ending. So they changed it. And I was trying to find out if I could find out what it was, what they said about it. I can't find it, though. I'm still looking for it. And the fact that Angelica Houston was auditioned for the role of Alex.
That was the other part of the casting that I thought was kind of interesting. Angelica Houston, part of this?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that'd be too much of a banger.
And she looks a lot older than Cher. So why? I think the director was mean to Cher because he wanted Angelica Houston. But he ended up getting Cher, even though she kicked ass at the role, I thought. I thought they did a phenomenal job of picking the people to portray the characters. I thought she did great in her part in this movie. Very believable. But I was trying to find that one thing. Yeah, it says here, due to the producers swapping the roles of Cher and Susan Sarandon without Sarandon's knowledge, the two actresses were not on speaking terms for the first 2 weeks of production. After one tense day of shooting, when Cher threatened to quit the film, Sarandon brought her a beer. The pair sat down and realized all the shady manipulation of John Peters and Peter Gruber that had led to the tension on the set, and the actresses became good friends thereafter.
Yeah, if you read into the behind the scenes stuff,
mm-hmm.
John Peters is not a good guy. The producer of this film is kind of a douche nozzle.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty okay with how they reacted to him and how everything fell out afterwards. Completely true. Angelica Houston did better in the Addams Family.
Yeah,
I loved her as Morticia. I watched those two Addams Family movies. There are fucking amazing. My mom can't stand it because they are so close to the source material, but I feel it's really just an honorific. Like if you didn't watch this, I was going to go for Adam's Family Values because that movie, I howl. I still watch that movie and I howl with love, and I think that movie's funny as shit.
Yeah, see,
Also,
that's another movie where you could tell it was phenomenal cast.
mm-hmm,
It was just awesome cast. They did
Raul
an
Julia
excellent
was
job.
just perfect.
Hmm.
He, we, I know that I really know that I'm going to get looked down upon for this, but I watched the Street Fighter movie from 1994
Hmm.
about 4 days ago, and that movie's terrible. Let's just get that straight out of the way.
Street
But
Fighter.
Street Fighter the
I
movie,
haven't seen it. I
it,
don't have a clue what you're talking about.
it's Raul Julia's last movie. It's
Mhm.
based on a video game.
Oh, that. Okay.
People can't stand that movie because it's got Van Damme and it's got some other people that were hot topics at the time. Although Kylie Minogue is still kind of a hot topic.
Hmm.
The girl that played Chun Li is still beautiful. She's like 60 plus years old. She's just there's there's certain people that they don't age. They hit like 28 or something, and like from there on out to like they are Casey Kasem like 150. Like all of a sudden they'll go through like a transformation where like over the course of 40 seconds they suddenly de-age or they age right in front of you and they get all wrinkly and then just shit themselves and turn to dust. And the
Oh, it's
building
terrible
collapses.
because they're vampires,
They
basically.
are basically, and the sunlight hit them right for once. So this lady that plays Chun Li is part of that, but Raul Julia is in this movie, and
Mhm.
that's his last movie. He had stomach cancer, and he's going through treatments after shoots, and then he's doing what he can, but he knows that he's going to die. There's no healthy prognosis for him. It's going to kill him, and so he's pushing himself day in and day out on fight scenes with Jean Claude Van Damme because his son loves this video game
Mhm.
and he wanted his son to have something that he knew that he loved. I
Well, that
don't
was
care what
sweet of them.
anybody says. As much as that movie is Canon Film Group schlock, that movie is such a good testament to how a father loves his son. Fucking onion ninjas. Sorry.
It's all right.
Um,
One of the things I found too, it says that uh, that Theo Van Gogh
yes.
and Rutger Hauer revealed he met with the director George Miller 3 times for the character that Jack Nicholson played.
You know who also scheduled to be supposed to be that role of Daryl?
Hmm.
Bill Murray.
I can't. Yeah, I can't
Bill
picture anyone
Murray.
besides. Yeah, Jack
That's the
Nicholson because
only
it's a
person
comedy
like
though.
that's
That's
the only person I could think of that would like make a completely different
funny.
movie, but it's still very impactful.
Uh huh.
Because Bill Murray seducing a woman has got to be the most funny shit to watch ever in life.
I mean, I wonder if there's an outtake of him doing the interview or doing the audition. The scene on the king size bed in front of Cher to get him to do all that, I bet everyone was laughing their ass off when they were trying to film that. And Cher, I guarantee she had to crack up. I thought it
Mhm.
was hilarious. I laughed and laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. I just thought it was funny because in the part where he takes off his shirt, okay, because he looks like a normal guy body wise, okay. He's not buff and muscular. He doesn't have much of his tattoos or anything. He just takes it off and he's got a dad bod, and he takes his shirt, doesn't even throw it on the bed. He just tosses it aside like he's some dreamboat, you know. I just thought it was great, and he did a phenomenal job in that scene. It was so well done. I laughed my butt off. I thought it was hilarious, and Cher trying not to crack up the whole time in her facial expressions. It was just a phenomenal scene. That was one of my very favorite scenes in the movie. It was just really really well done. I just really loved it. But when I saw that Rutger Hauer had tried out for that part, I was like, what? I could not picture him in there in that movie.
Uh, well, I could because he was
Not a
really good.
comedy.
He was really good in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And what about Lady Hawk? That's another movie. I think I sent that to you before.
Yeah,
I love that movie. I love him. I thought he was great. I loved him in Blade Runner. I thought he was really good in Blade Runner.
that's.
Very dramatic part too for him.
I think before Blade Runner, I know there's a lot of stuff with Rudger in it, but I
Uh-huh.
really like the movie Nighthawks. A Billy D. Williams,
I haven't
Sylvester
seen that
Stallone
one.
classic. That movie is not top, but it's interesting because you can see people are on the rise in that film, and that movie, it is not well loved, but it's still got enough grit and enough substance in it to where it's worth a watch. It's a crime noir movie, and it does a really good job of showing you that these cops are being pushed to the point where they're breaking. This Rutger Hauer plays a bastard in this movie, and it's
Oh,
good.
really?
Yeah,
He's a bad guy?
he's the bad guy, and he plays such a good
I
bad
haven't
guy.
seen him in a bad guy part.
You did too. You watched him as Roy Batty in Blade Runner, and you fell in love
Yeah,
with
but
him.
I didn't think he was a bad boy. Remember, I kept telling you I felt sorry for him.
I
He can't help who he is. He had no choice. He was just made, and he didn't want to die. So I mean, I knew he was going to hurt people and stuff, but I still felt sorry for him. So I really didn't take him too much as a
if he
evil
would have
person.
stayed in the outer worlds and the colonies, he would have been fine.
Hmm.
He would have been perfect. He would have been all right. But instead, he comes to Earth and tries to have a conversation with Eldon Tyrell, and that's where you fucked up. We can look on the map of your flow chart, and here's the timeline where you fucked up right here when you came to Earth on the shuttle, and that's
Yeah,
just
it
how it
says
is.
on here too. This stuff I found. It says this movie was among the American Film Institute's 2005 list of 250 movies nominated for the IFI 100 Years of Film Scores. So they liked this the score for this movie. So it was nominated for that, or it was included in it. And the other thing was, it said the film cast included three Oscar winners: Jack Nicholson, Susan Sarandon, and Cher, and two Oscar nominees was Richard Jenkins and Michelle Pfeiffer. So it had a huge cast.
A lot of people love this movie, both at the
Did
time
it make a lot of
and
money?
decades later. What?
Did it make a lot of money? I don't know.
No, actually, it didn't. It only made 67 million.
So, but it did make its money back then.
Oh God, yes, yeah. It doubled its take because if we're
I
gonna
bet
go
it
with,
made more though now after going out on DVD and all that stuff.
yeah, I'm sure it did.
Mhm.
But this movie was 27 or 24 million dollars to kick off, and I don't think they even rolled into the equation the marketing cost.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
I have
did
no idea.
that,
It
and
looked like they spent a lot on it, even though you said it was only 22 million. I guess that's like nothing compared to today's movies. But the work they did on the church, they took a
the,
historical old church and they refurbished it, and man, it
the,
was gorgeous.
the church, the set design, the shooting locations, everything in this movie looks perfect.
Hmm.
There's nothing else I could say. This movie looks perfect, and like the movie gets high marks on everything for me except for its CGI. The tennis ball is going to
Yeah, that
drag it a
was
little bit,
hokey. Yeah.
but I mean, you have four people that don't play tennis, and so that's what they had to do.
Hmm.
ILM was the guys in charge of it, and that's the only part of the movie where it kind of slips a bit. The beginning of the movie kind of is, if you're an 8-year-old kid, you're bored as shit, but has some really good. It is, but it's
Yeah.
really good to set up the characters,
Hmm.
and then more importantly, the moment that Jack Nicholson enters stage left, you are transfixed by him. You want to know more about this guy, and then if you're a dude, if you're a guy, you want to watch him pick up on three babes that are completely okay with this. They're not initially. They're fucking jealous as shit.
Yeah.
Watching Cher and Susan Sarandon play their catty little game, and then he starts trying to hook into Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Badass movie.
Yeah, the scene where you see him when they go back to the house after he's happy that he won them back. You know, he's scared. He made him miserable enough to where they came crawling back to him, and he's all that macho ness. You know, where he wants to like beat his chest attitude. And
Mhm.
then you see him in the mirror and he's primping and looking at himself because he thinks he's a god. He thinks he's the hottest man on the planet. And then he walks to his room and he opens the door and you see it like in slow motion. And what do you see? Three gorgeous babes in lingerie crawling around on his bed. A redhead, a blonde, and a brunette. Every man's dream. I mean, what more could a man want? And he had it right there, right in front of him. So yeah, he did good. And he wasn't any like, whatever Adonis or anything. He was just an average looking man, and he had it made right there. That scene was to me, I thought was a scene that every man could put himself in. His dream, a man's dream is to open the door and see three sexy, hot ladies that want to be there with him. Had everything in it. Oh, that was a good scene. And they look good. Do you remember that scene, right? Yeah, I thought it was pretty tasty looking.
He did really good. This movie tantalizes the right it hits the right nerves.
Hmm.
Every adult that watches this movie I've talked to, they were like, "Oh, that's a great movie." Man, my mom used to watch the shit out of that movie.
Hmm.
Have you seen it lately? Not lately, but last time I watched it, my wife and I liked it. Okay, cool. And that's what I get.
But I just thought there was little things. I didn't really think it was. If they made that movie or tried to make that movie today, I think it would be so woke it would be horrible. It wouldn't be good at all. But the way that they did it, the way that the three women they picked for this movie to portray those characters, I thought they did a really good job at showing women, that are just lonely, that want romance, they want someone in their life, someone they can call their own, basically. So the scene where you see Suki and Cher walking up and seeing Susan Sarandon laying there, and she thinks she's got the man. She thinks she's got the mansion, the man. She's got everything wrapped, in her hand, basically.
No.
And now she realizes that what the fuck? He's hitting on her right in front of us, and he's got claw marks on his face because she tore the shit out of him.
She's
I mean, she was
trying.
ripping his clothes off, and she was an animal because she hadn't had it, and so I thought it was great. I love that scene. It was very sexy. I thought
This
all the scenes were sexy.
this right here, the dialogue in this movie still knocks home runs.
Hmm.
Um, and here's a good idea. I'd like to know what would happen to the three Cambion hellspawn that Van Horn left behind. I'd love to know. I'd love to know how the three children are
Oh
doing.
yeah, that would be a funny comedy.
Yeah.
Showing them grown up, and then have cameos with the real actresses portraying the mothers. I was watching them do whatever. Maybe Jack Nicholson comes back into their life or whatever for some reason, or they're getting married, or so there could be a whole bunch of good scenarios for a funny comedy. Because I'm not a big on comedies. It's got to have something more than just ha ha funny. You know what I mean? To get me to watch it. But I loved it. I thought it was a very well made comedy, romantic comedy.
I don't know. I think Airplane is. I think
Yeah,
I
it
could,
was funny.
I
It was
think I
funny
could get
too.
Janet to watch Airplane any day of the week.
That scene where she's handing that he looks up and you see her wearing a skirt, and he looks up the ladder and he goes, "Nice beaver," and then she goes, "Thank you," and she hands it to him.
And
Just little stuff like that was just great. I
that
mean, you
that's
just can't
not
do that
Airplane,
now.
but you're thinking of Leslie Nielsen, and that's okay.
Is that not the right movie?
That's the Naked Gun, dear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember. I guess I didn't see Airplane then. Is it the one where the guy's really sweating and he's trying to fly the plane?
Yes.
Okay, well, I haven't seen that. I've
What?
seen the trailer, but I haven't seen the movie.
All right, kids. I guess
Oh,
we know
yeah,
we're watching
I
in
don't watch that
January.
many comedies. I really don't. Now, the reason I saw the one I was talking about, Naked Gun, is because my mom liked Leslie Nielsen. So I think I was watching it at her house.
Yeah, here's what you missed by not watching Airplane. You have a steamier sex scene with the autopilots.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, you do.
How did
Airplane is almost funny. It almost gets to half as funny as
I don't,
Airplane One.
and it's got Lloyd Bridges in it. I remember him like
Yes.
in the trailer and stuff. I
So
guess we'll put that on the list and watch it. But
we will. I got a question for the chat.
mhm,
You guys have seen Witches of Eastwick.
mhm.
What are your scores? What did you think of this movie? Because Janet's going to read off your commentary on that,
Yeah, I'll read it.
please. And I want to know because I'm just curious. I think that this movie definitely invites some good dialogue between people and discussion.
Hmm.
This is a fun fucking movie. It really
Yeah, I
is.
thought it was very, very sexy. It had a lot of sexy innuendos. It was very sexual. And in the scene, I really love the ending scene. It says 18 months later, and you see three little babies in walkers that are adorable walkers. I never saw a walker like that. They're so cute. And you see him walking up, and then you see the TV screens that he was watching when he thought about Susan Sarandon and made her get really old. She saw herself really old and it scared her really bad. She realized that he was pissed. And then you see his face appear, and he's like, "Coochie, coochie, coochie." He's talking to the little kids because he knows he's a dad, and they just turn off the TV, and they can't think about him or anything because he might come back. They might bring him back, and then they might not be able to get rid of him after that. So that would be a cute way of bringing back his character to see his kids. You know what I mean? Where they're all sitting around a table, where their kids are about to graduate from high school or something, and they're sitting around a table talking about him, and they're laughing and stuff about it, and all of a sudden he comes knocking at the door, you know what I mean, or something like that. That would be funny. They could make it realistic and funny, but they'd have to have the same characters in it. It wouldn't
As
be.
long as, long as you don't have like the wait too long and Jack Nicholson gets wheeled up in the Commander Pike or the Christopher Pike chair, and he's got like his mouth hanging open like Jimmy Carter.
Oh, that was so sad. Oh, that was heartbreaking. That whole thing.
Not a big
But
fan of Jimmy Carter, but this is the point where like you just kind of like you
mhm.
push him down the cliff like the little Japanese cartoon where the girl says something like
Terrible.
trans women are real women, and their little caretaker pushing the wheelchair is like oops, and she flies off the cliff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. But
Yeah,
yeah, but I think it would be good. I think they could make a funny, uh, you know, number two or whatever. And another set of movies I would love for us to watch is Grumpy Old Men.
perfect movies.
Yeah, they're funny, and they got really good actors. And my mother used to really love them. She thought they were great.
I love Mr. Lemon. He's great. And Mathau missed out. We had the script. And if Mathau would have been given the script and said, "We're going to pay you enough money to where you could have a nicer house than Michael Caine," he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it." But they never handed him the script for the biography of Saddam Hussein. Walter
Oh,
Matthau was born to play that. Just like fucking John Kerry
is
was
there
born
really
to
a movie about that?
Walter Matthau wasn't in it.
Oh,
He should have been. Just like John Kerry is born to play the fucking cigar store Indian.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Have you ever seen a cigar store Indian? Like the Indian at the front of the cigar store?
Yes, I've
The
seen
7
those,
foot
but I've
tall
not
brown
seen it.
Indian that's just wrinkled as fuck and looks just unhappy as shit. And here's Janet rumbling up with her giant fucking SUV, belching out fucking carbon monoxide fumes and petro breather engine.
Mhm.
And John Kerry just winces. It's like another one of these plebes, ugh. And just now there is a funny Indian moment in the movie Creepshow where one avenges the death of George Kennedy, but that we'll discuss that later.
Mhm.
And we'll watch that next year, next to Halloween.
Okay, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I recommend it. If you haven't seen it and you like Jack Nicholson or you like Cher or you like Susan Sarandon or you like Michelle Pfeiffer, that this is a good movie to watch
Yeah.
because
Also,
they're all good.
yeah,
They're all great actors, all of them.
they don't turn in like a Oscar-winning performance. Okay, this is not
This isn't an
the
Oscar performing movie. The closest character in this movie that could even get nominated, if it was, would be the part Jack Nicholson played.
No. I think Veronica Cartwright actually turned in the best performance.
Well, I don't know. I thought she did a great job. It was very believable, but I didn't think she had enough screen time to be. Well, if she got nominated, it would be
Supporting
for,
actress.
it would be for, supporting actress. But Jack Nicholson's scenes, it's the two scenes when he's mad and he's talking to Cher when he's ironing that shirt, that whole scene was every man that I've heard complain about women. That was them. That was your chance to see Jack Nicholson telling everybody why did God make women. I just thought it was great. And the church scene, those two scenes were phenomenal. I thought he was just perfection for both of those parts in this movie. So if he was going to be nominated for this movie, one of those two scenes would be the reason why. Because I just thought he was perfect. Couldn't find anything wrong with anything he did in this movie.
I got a quote down here, a review from Six Nations.
Oh, let me see. Okay. Sorry, I had my notes up. I was reading some stuff on it too. 70 out of 100. I don't do a lot of rom-com, neither do I. But this had enough Jesus shenanigans in it to keep me entertained. Yes, it did. Definitely a film you and your squeeze could watch. Great cast and excellent dialogue. Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was a very well-made romantic comedy. And I don't like them personally. Very, very few movies that I enjoy that I've liked, over and over to see it more than once is a romantic comedy. Mine are more into the drama and action. Those type of movies are more my style. But yeah, he did. That's it. He gave it a 70. I guess that's a pretty good score for a guy.
That's actually right what I was going to give the movie. I'm going to give it a 70 out of 100 because this is not a Oscar-winning film. This is not an Oscar-winning performance. It doesn't have the most cutting special effects or fight choreography. What does it have? It has good old-fashioned small-town American bigotry, and that for me is enough for me to watch it and wrap my arms around it and be like, I find comfort in you. I went to church with these people. Veronica Cartwright's character, I've had her kind of sneer at me whenever I can only afford $10 in the till this Sunday. Maybe next Sunday I'll throw 30 in. I don't earn much. I'm a fast food guy, and I've had snobbery of the elitist type shove their nose up in the sky when they see me because they couldn't stand me. And now here I am, a sanitation truck driver. Look at me now, fucker. And my life is better than yours, so I don't give a shit.
But yeah, I don't think there's a single person I've ever talked to that haven't met a woman like her.
Yeah, and like
growing up, sometime in your life, you have met
you
that
bump into these people, and like the word twat just fits so well. Mm-hmm. You miserable fucking twat. Like everything in your life revolves around beating up the people in this church instead of making this church a welcoming place. Thank you so fucking much for being the cunt we all needed.
It brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah,
but my score for this movie, I would give it a 90 out of 100.
90.
Yeah, and the reason is because the set designs were awesome. Every set looked authentic to me. Yeah. Even driving down the road when they're conjuring up the car in the dark, twisting, turning, gnarly road to go to the house, and then you see the gate open and he goes into the fancy place. You don't know what you're going to get, but they're getting something. Something's about to happen because of these women, and the way that they set up each of their houses, the way that they were in their homes, the way that they did everything in their homes, to me was authentic. The church was a phenomenal church for what you would think the person like the woman that's obsessed with the women being whores and that they're ruining the country. I mean, their town, their community's ruined, and then all the simple people, home people sitting in the pews. It was very authentic. The beauty of their little town was authentic to me. It made me feel like it really was in Massachusetts, a quaint small town, and these are everyday people. The little scene in the grocery store seemed very realistic to me, and the way the women all were like prudish, looking at her while she's walking through the store eating a thing, enjoying herself, not bothering anyone, but still have to stick their nose in her business. That whole scene to me, I loved every detail. It seemed like they shared no expense. They did everything they had to get you to see what the director wanted you to see, and I felt like I got that. I think it was I felt like it was from the beginning all the way to the very end. I was enthralled in the movie. I liked all the characters. I was rooting for the women to win. And I loved the babies. I thought they were adorable at the end. I thought that was a wonderful scene to get to see the after effect of what they had. And then to also see them when they're sitting around helping the kids with their homework and stuff, or doing stuff for their job or whatever it was. And then you see Susan Sarandon kind of like having those naughty thoughts in her expressions. And they're like, don't do it. Can't think about them when you're with all of us together, basically. So it kind of showed you that even though he's not there, he's there all the time. Okay, not just because he has kids with them, but in their minds, because they all loved him in a different way. You know what I mean? As a father and a lover. So I liked that. I thought all of that was really good, and I thought the director did a phenomenal job showing that story to me to get me to feel those feelings, the romance, the naughty thoughts about how those women's loneliness being fulfilled by a guy that was going to give them everything, gave them everything they wanted, and sometimes it was too much, I guess, because he wanted more from them than they were willing to give. And I thought they did everything to do that. And I thought the special effects were really good. They weren't the very best because the scene, with the tennis ball and stuff was kind of hokey. There was little things like that. But that's the only real bad things that I think I can actually say I didn't really enjoy about the movie, because I thought the editing was like flawless. The whole scene where he ends up hitting his wife over the head, they gave you enough detail about why he was going nuts, even though you saw all the stuff leading up to that of how much he loved his wife. He talks about her. I met her. We fell in love in high school. She's been with him all this time, and he was always a devoted husband, and he looked like he really loved his wife when she's in the hospital and everything. And then he's sitting there, and she's just going on and on and on, and then she starts spewing out seeds and vomit, and she's got that nasty devilish voice, and stuff. He thinks she's possessed, and he just can't deal with it anymore, and he snaps. So it was very believable. I thought all the actors did a good job. The editing was phenomenal, and the set design, the costumes, everything was top notch, considering it was a rom-com. So giving it a 90 is really high for me.
That you don't do that too often.
No, not for this type of movie. But I just thought it was a smash up cast. I mean, they just did a great job. I just was very entertained. It was worth it to me.
I can understand that.
Oh, he's complaining if it was going to be the cherry scene. Yeah, I got a little bit of my mouth started to water, like I might throw up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Knowing what was about to happen, yeah, it did make me nauseous.
I appreciated the cherry pit vomit scenes. Okay, I know it sounds really disgusting, but there's a part of this movie that, for me, like, it kind of called back to 1984's Stand By Me with the blueberry eating pie contest. I thought there was really good parallels there, just with the special effects. The gags were really good. There's no narrative line there, but I just for watching people vomit, I was reminded of Stand By Me, and this movie almost does a good enough job as Stand By Me. Though Stand By Me does a better job, because the first scene where Veronica Cartwright starts to spew cherry pits, you can see them on the other side of her as they're being shoved through, and they like digitally add or something, but
Yeah.
you can see them going through the air behind her head, and then they come out her mouth,
Hmm.
and you can see this pretty easily. It's a
Well, I didn't notice it. It didn't take it away. There
it's a
wasn't
cut.
anything to me totally obvious besides the even the throw up scene where she was a puppet. You know, when I read about it afterward, I thought they did a great job considering what was it, 1987?
Yep.
That was what you said. So even considering the time that it came out, if I'd seen it and was picking on it at that time, I didn't even notice that it wasn't a real person. So I was trying to think about it, what I felt when I first saw it, and then seeing it again today, trying to intertwine it and add, and look for things. I was trying to look for stuff, but really, the actors were so good at portraying the part that they were playing. Even her, she was so good at playing this, you know, nasty Christian woman supposedly that thinks everybody is a sinner. Everybody's sluts and whores, just all that different stuff. I thought she was excellent at it, and it made you believe that she was possessed basically by the devil, which that was him, because he was getting the girls to eat the cherries, and then she was throwing them up, and the girls didn't know that was happening to her till the next day when they found out that her husband had hit her over the head and killed her because he couldn't take any more from her. I thought it was really good. I just loved it. I know I said that 100 times, but I can't help it. But she did a good job. She was very believable for the character that she was portraying, and he was too.
Yeah.
He was drove to kill her, to beat her over the head, and you didn't have to see it, but you knew what happened. And
Yes.
see, I like that. I like it when they leave a little to the imagination, like the love scenes in the movie. You didn't have to see him going gang bang in bed together. All you had to see was his smile on his face when he opened the door, and then you saw the gorgeous babes. You knew it was about to happen. You didn't have to see them rip off their clothes and do all the other stuff, because to me they overdo it sometimes in some movies where they try to put so much in it that you have to
This
see
movie
every
doesn't do
detail.
that. This movie keeps a very classy edge about itself.
Yeah, I like that. To me, that even made it. That's why I even bring it up to a 90, is the fact that they gave it to you in here, and they didn't have to put it all on there, so you got a little bit left to your own imagination about what might have went on in there. I like that.
Yeah. So that's our reviews. Next week,
Hmm.
we are watching In Search of Darkness Volume 1.
Now I'm excited.
It's going to be, we'll start later than this. We'll probably start at actually about 4:30, uh,
Mhm.
because it's going to take a while to get through. It's like 3 hours.
Oh,
And
is it? We're gonna do a two-part thing like we did before?
no,
Oh, it's just three
it's
hours for the one thing.
yeah,
Okay.
but it's definitely worth it. So we're gonna view that and enjoy ourselves, and then we'll come and talk about it because it goes into the horror films of the '80s and late '70s. So
Hmm.
I think that's pretty important. I want to watch that. Um,
I love horror. Horror movies are my favorite
I don't
genre.
know exactly how we're going to do that logistically because you might still be in San Antonio. You might just be here.
Hmm.
I don't know. But
We'll figure it out.
yeah, look forward to it. Thank you, one and all, for showing up today. I'd like to thank Six Nation 31 Kings for being here, and Crafting Gamer, Flady One Gaming. I wish you the best of health, my friend. I know yesterday you were saying you were kind of in a little bit of pain. I don't want that to be happening to you. Transparency for all going through some rough times. If you got a moment of peace, please bestow her with that. Soy Based Jeremy, how you doing, sir? Good to see you here. And Janet, what do you have planned for this week?
Well, I'm gonna try to do another one of those my music video streams on X only, maybe on Rumble and X. Not, it won't be on YouTube because I don't want to get in trouble. So I'll probably do that, and then Thursday night I should be doing Team Shit Show 2.0, and then Friday night the Friday Night Shit Show. That's it. So until we get together. That's all.
Yeah, looking forward to next week. We'll figure it out. Friday, probably.
Oh, but I'm going to do a special Halloween Friday, Thursday night show because it's on Halloween night, and I want anyone who's watching, if you'd like to come on for 20 minutes or whatever, and tell us any spooky story or encounter that you might have had that you think that other people might be interested in hearing, for Halloween. And if you want to dress up in a costume, that'd be great. And if you don't, you can just use your avatar. It'd be fun. That's what I want to do for Halloween on my channel.
Okay. Well,
So that's
looking
it.
forward to that. And Janet always has a good stream Friday nights. You should check her out for the Shit Show. She has
Yeah,
a Shit Show 2.0 podcast as well on Thursdays. Do you still have your sister coming in and talking relationships, or?
Well, she came on twice. We've had Jennifer on twice, but she's just been really busy. And you remember she's in North Carolina, so with all the other stuff that's been going on, I don't know. She didn't get flooded or anything like that, but I'm sure she's been, might have been without power or whatever else.
Okay.
But
Well,
big mess there.
everybody take care of yourself. Keep your head on a swivel and buy more ammunition.
Yeah.
Remember, if it cackles, it doesn't belong in the White House.
Yeah. No hyenas.
No hyenas.
Bye, everyone.